Hello, once again. My name is B. Yvette Myers, and today I'm coming to you from Columbia, South Carolina, and we're talking about family functioning and how things affect the family. Before we get started, I'm going to talk about um, my favorite mode of therapy, and it's called family systems therapy. That's my go-to therapy. I think that our decisions, we are not islands, and no one is on an island. So we're influenced and in many instances controlled by the those around us that we value their opinion. When we value someone's opinion or how they think, feel, and treat us, our behavior is altered based on that. Even if we want to do something, if we feel that it'll be detrimental to our families, many people won't do it. For instance, let's talk about something as simple as infidelity, since that was the topic of last month's subject. A couple being married, going out and they're separate throughout their days. If one is approached in the manner of infidelity, and there's a strong connection between the two, the likelihood that they will stray outside their marriage uh, decreases. When the connection is there's a break in the connection, the likelihood that they will stray outside their marriage increases. That does not mean that you don't talk, you don't communicate, you don't do those things that couples do or that haven't do. I'm talking about emotional connection. When there is a strong emotional connection to someone, it is my belief that the likelihood of hurting them or causing them pain decreases. When the emotional connection is low, that possibility of hurting someone, it increases because there's no real connection there. So my family systems therapy is my therapy of choice. Before we get started, we're going to talk about the developers. And I'm just going to give you these names. I encourage you to look them up on your own. I'm not going to go into them on this post because that's not the purpose of this. The developers are the Aldrin family therapy, multi-generational family therapy, human validation process model, experimental family therapy, structural strategic family therapy, and recent innovations in family therapy. I encourage you to see how our decisions, see how the impact of the family affects the individual. And if you will, that's your homework. As I said before, my therapy of choice is the Bowen Family System Therapy. I believe that everything is connected. And the Bowen Family System Therapy says that it's a theory of human behavior that views the family as an emotional unit. They are connected through emotions. Members are intensely connected emotionally. Families affect their members through feelings. And people seek attention, approval, as I was saying in the first slide or the second slide, support, and react to each other's needs and expectations. We do things based on what our families would expect of us. I remember growing up in Bartow, Georgia, where when I was very young, I remember my grandfather saying, "Don't mess up my name." When we used to go downtown to purchase things, or he would give us money and send and allow us to go to the store, and we would, a group of children. It was probably about 6 or 8 of us, and we would walk to the store together about a mile away, and he would say, as we were leaving, "Don't mess up my name." And so we knew exactly when I was, very young, I knew exactly what he meant. Don't do anything to bring shame on the family. And that in itself, curtailed me from doing or, making sure that that I didn't do anything or say anything that would bring embarrassment, because granddaddy did not play when it came to that. People seek attention, approval, and support and react to each other's needs and expectations. The connectedness makes functioning of family members interdependent. There's a heightened tension can intensify and promote unity and teamwork, as well as lead to problems. When one family member becomes anxious, the family becomes stressed, and anxiety spreads to other members. When one person is affected, everyone is affected. And that's how a very tight emotional family works. When something affects one, it affects all. Now, how do we, you know, is that good or bad? Let's start there. Is that there is no good or bad with that. If a family member that needs help from the outside, from other family members, and they don't have the resources or the knowledge to get themselves out of a situation, then the connectedness of being motivated emotionally to help your family member increases. So there's more of a dedication to get that family member out of that situation. When the connectedness is minimal, or there is no connectedness there, your resources become your resources, and if they can't get themselves out of that situation or into a better situation, it's not always negative, it can be positive, then they have to figure it out themselves. So what happens when one situation occurs and it begins to spread to throughout the family? Eventually, one or more members feel overwhelmed, isolated, or out of control. The anxiety closest to the source is going to increase. And if they can't figure the situation out, then their anxiety increases. Now, this has usually happened with the matriarch of the family or the patriarch of the family. If they are active in the family, they usually don't last long, because they take on all the stresses of the entire family. And you may see that many times a matriarch or patriarch of a family will, pass away 50, 60, 70 years old. Now, some might say, that was their time, but it's possible that without the additional stressors or the additional, incidents or things going on in the family that they felt or took on themselves, they could have been longer. Now, is that good or bad? I try to stay away from the terms good or bad because they're subjective, but are they positive or negative? In this particular situation, it's negative. Positive is adding value to your life, and negative is taking value from your life. To take on the stresses of the entire family shortens your life. With stress, anxiety, depression, and those things attack the organs, the central nervous system, the organs, and it takes value from your life. These are the people who accommodate the most to reduce tension in others. They do whatever they can to make sure that everybody else is okay. We can also become connected to those that aren't blood related, but that we have attached ourselves to emotionally. Now, some people that don't have close family, we still connect ourselves to somebody or something. These people connect themselves to friends. They call friends, we hear often friends that are, she's like a sister to me. This is my brother from another mother. This happens when there's a void or there is distance in our immediate family. And distance can be physical and emotional. When there's distance, then we will attach ourselves to those closest to us, and they will become that family for us. We need that connectedness. Now, there was a reason why there were two created. There was a reason why two was created, because one needed someone else. You can't do this alone. If you are on an island by yourself, you have to connect to someone. even if it's a friend, even if it's, someone to just, if you having difficulty, because I hear often adults having difficulty connecting to someone, or if their families are distant emotionally or physically, then connect with someone for the purpose of being connected. Tap your neighbor on the shoulder or tap your coworker on the shoulder and say, I just want to, is it okay? Can we connect? Can we just check on each other? If I live by myself and she lives by herself, can every now and again, can we can't check on each other? Can we just make it a pact that we will look out for each other? Now that sounds corny, but it's actually highly effective outside of, and then that can brew a friendship or a relationship outside of just checking on each other. When we meet someone, we immediately place them in a category. We place them, we either pull them closer to us in our circle or we push them out. When we meet, so when you lay eyes on someone, you either embrace them or you distance yourself from them. Some people are cautious. Some people keep everybody at a distance and then they slowly bring people in. Some people have open arms and everybody comes in, and then they push out those that show themselves not friendly or show themselves that they aren't worthy to be that close to them. But when we pull them in and then we look for behaviors. Many times we look for behaviors to support our decision to pull them in. Now, if our mind is set on them being a good friend, sometimes it can be very difficult for them to even to get outside that circle, for us to say, you know what, this person isn't who I thought they were. If when we meet someone, if we tell ourselves at that time, this person is real cool, they can do something so obtuse and so wrong, and we'll still justify it. We'll say, well, they may have had a bad day, or, this is, now some people won't. And if that's not you, then this is not your part of the workshop. But some people wait until they do things over and over and over and over, and then they kick them out. After they've tried to work with them, after they've tried to show themselves friendly, and then they kick them out. What that does is it taxes you. It taxes you to the point mentally where you ask yourself, was that a good decision? Am I making good decisions? I don't understand why I can't make good friends. And, my dad told me something when I was very young. I think I was about 15 or 16 years old. And he said it about a man, but I'm going to use it in a general sense. He said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Believe what they show you, not what they tell you, what they show. Now, when someone comes in, how we communicate, interact, and how we introduce them to others will be how close they come or how distant they are. We try to convince ourselves, like I said, that this is a good choice, or some people may say, nah, I messed that up. And then they distance themselves. If we introduce a new member, if they pass the test, and we, whatever the test may be, and we introduce them to our family members, sometimes it is very difficult to kick them outside of that circle, depending on the connectedness that the family members have with that person. Now, you meet someone at 20 years old, y'all start dating, and then at, let's say, 25, you get married. You stay married until you're 35. This person has met everybody in your family, and then you guys get divorced. Now, your mom says that's still my son, or his mom say that's still my daughter. Now, no matter who else the opposite sex brings around their mom or dad, the mom or dad still accepts or still is fond of the ex. Sometimes that can bring animosity and discord. It's like, that you're my mom, you're supposed to have my back. And if I'm no longer with them, then you no longer need to be with them. For me personally, my loyalty, my connectedness is to my children. I love my children. I love my children's spouses. And I pray that they never ever are divorced or they separate. But as I said, my loyalty is to my children, and likely their parents' loyalty is to their children. When we introduce them to our family members, it becomes more difficult to kick them out. It is very difficult for them to get outside that family. And sometimes we can feel betrayed. We can feel like our family doesn't support our needs or our wants, or a sense of, I can't believe if your family member is not on the same page that you are on. This goes back to family functioning and how decisions affect the entire family. Now, follow me. Couple gets married and they break up. They don't divorce, but they break up. They go to their own respective corners and they rally up support. One spouse is going to tell his people everything that the spouse did that was negative. The other spouse is going to tell their people everything that the spouse did, their spouse did that was negative. Now, very few people say, I messed that up. Many times it's look what she did, or look what he did, or look what he did, or look what she did, and it's the finger is pointed at the other. Now, two people get married and they separate, but they don't divorce. They go back to their respective corners, and let's say they're separated for a year. They've rallied up all that support from their families. Now they decide to work it. Let's work this out. Let's get back together. We have a family. Let's rebuild. I love you. You love me. Let's try to make this work. Now they've forgiven each other, but the family still remembers what was said about how could you take them back when you told me that they did this or this and this. That's why it is very, 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 very important that you only make a decision to tell those around you what's going on in your house when you know absolutely certain, without a shadow of a doubt, that there is no chance for reconciliation. Even at that, think about it twice. Because once you rally support, it's difficult to go back and say, you know what, after all that I told you, I think I'm gonna still give them another chance. And then that decision to come back together can be frowned upon on both sides. So that decision, so many people, believe it or not, don't get back together because of that, what they did while they were separated. Not necessarily what they did individually, but how they rallied support. And now they can't get back together because of the verbiage that they've shared with their family members or the people that they're closest to. And that can be very tricky. Now I'm going to give you another example, and I keep bringing these examples up because I want you to understand how being connected to anybody or any group, the circle keeps going over and over and over too. Now imagine me drawing a circle, and that's you. Now there's a circle on the outside of that circle, but overlaps that's work. Then there's another circle that's church. There's another circle that's social life. There's another circle that friends at the club. Another circle where where you're in a biker group. Now, in those 5 things, there are going to be behaviors that you can demonstrate in one that you cannot demonstrate in the others. In a biker club, you ride bikes. You may be able to drink and use foul language. You're not going to do that at church. So we have to be able to mix and mingle. And those circles and those groups affect how we act, even if we're not there. If we are the deacon or the pastor, there are certain things that are just not going to be accepted if we should do. And that's how the family works. There are certain things that we just, that curtails us. Now, what happens is when there's a strong connectedness, then you have people that are on one line of thinking. That can be positive and negative. You want everyone to have their individuality, but you want them to keep in mind that their decisions don't only affect them, they affect the entire family. Now, imagine being told that your significant other was assaulted at work. Your anxiety increases immediately because you got to figure out who, what, when, where, why. Now, you're prepared to do something about it, and you're prepared to use your resources to make sure whatever your resources are, and I'm going to air quote that, you're prepared to use your resources to do whatever you need to do so that that assault does not happen again. Now imagine your cousin, your mom's cousin, third cousin, brother, sister, uncle. They're not going to be as upset because they're too far from the situation. Now, there may be a measure of upsetness, if you will, but they're not going to, many don't feel that same sense of intensity as the others. Many groups are emotionally connected in daily conversations, and many are unaware of it. Let me say that again. Many groups are emotionally connected, but in daily conversations, they are unaware of it. Let's use the example of the African American community. Many say that they are not connected, but allow someone in New York to be assaulted or to be mistreated. There will be rallies in Miami, there will be rallies in Texas, there will be rallies in Washington State. And none of those 4 groups physically or personally know that person. That's because the connectedness, the emotional bond that they have to that person and the identity that they share creates a bond that says that I cannot sit by and let this happen. And then if somebody in a group do something that shames the group, we make the statement, they make us look bad. And it does not matter where that person is or what group that person is. We group them with one that's positive and that's negative. Now, that connectedness, that emotional bond can be dysfunctional. It can be you can be so connected to someone emotionally that their actual behavior that created the chaos you can whitewash it and say, that don't really matter. They still shouldn't have been treated like that, which you are right. You're absolutely right. However, there's a measure of responsibility that we all have to ourselves and to each other. So keep that in mind. After I've said all of that, now what? What's next? How the decisions that one person makes, how connected we are, is how emotionally connected we are, which can be positive and negative. What's next creates standards for everyone. This is how we will behave. If you find yourself in a situation that needs assistance, then we will measure it according to, and we will expel, or we will give our resources based on the situation. Know what to expect, and the character, and know the character of those in your inner circle. If they're close to you, it's nice to have someone that's beautiful. But what is their character? Because when the closer someone is to you, the closer that someone to your inner circle, the more connected you are to them, their behavior is going to affect you. Their behavior is going to create anxiety in you. If their behavior is positive, then there's going to be pride. If their behavior is negative, there's going to be shame, and it's going to create those feelings of anxiety, depression, grief, stress inside of you. When you connect emotionally to others, you connect your resources to their lifestyle. Now, let me say that again for the people in the back. When you connect emotionally to others, you connect your resources to their lifestyle. And don't think that resources are only material. They are mental power also. Because if someone that you're connected to, or excuse me, someone that you're connected to find themselves in any type of situation, positive or negative, your resources are now attached to that situation. If you feel they are unjustly treated, you will spend your resources to minimize their anxiety, pain, and discomfort. Though we are emotionally connected, the right side of our brain, it does not mean that we should not logically, the left side of our brain, address the lifestyle of those that we are emotionally connected to. Though we are emotionally connected, the right side of our brain, that's the emotional side of our brain, it does not mean that we should not logically, use the logic side of our brain to address the lifestyle of those that we are emotionally connected to. Because when you are connected to someone, their lifestyle taps into your resources, and resources are not just material. Don't ask for anything from anyone that you aren't willing to give. And that sounds so basic, but it's mind-boggling when I talk to clients that expect a certain level of commitment, dedication from their significant other or their children, but they lack to give that same level. This may appear elementary. However, this principle is prevalent in families, and many breakups occur because of this small difference. We are connected. There's no way around that. Behaviors affect behaviors. So we can convince ourselves that what we do don't affect them. There's one saying, what I eat don't make you defecate, or don't make you use the bathroom. Well, actually it does, because if you eat it enough, even though it may not make me defecate, eventually I will smell it, and that will affect me. So if it's going to affect me, then I have a right to say something, or to either distance myself emotionally from that situation. You control you. Stay focused on your behavior. If we all stayed and mindful of our own behavior and how our behavior affects others, then we wouldn't have time to say you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that, because we're only focused on our behavior. If you have any questions, comments, or want to comment or dispute, anything that I said, I encourage the feedback. If you have a topic that you would like for me to address, I encourage you to, send me an email. I encourage you also to check out our newsletter, our monthly newsletter. It goes out. It's on my website. It'll be on the last slide, www.betterdecisionsbetterhealth.com. My name is B. Yvette Myers. My phone number is here. and check out the website. All the workshops that I've done for Barbara up until this point are on the website, and this will be on there also. Thank you so much, and I look forward to your feedback.